In this video, we're going to be finding out the difference between two Italian relative pronouns, che and cui. Cominciamo! Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti a Coffee Break Italian. Io sono Mark.
Salve a tutti, io sono Francesca.
And as I said, today we're looking at two relative pronouns, and this is based on a question from listener Shibnam. Shibnam wants to know what the difference is between che and cui. Over to you, Francesca.
Okay, grazie, Mark. As you've just said, che and cui are two relative pronouns, which means they are words which we use in Italian to create, let's say, a relation between two sentences which would normally be independent, but we want to join them and also avoid the repetition of a word which appears in both sentences.
Okay, I think what would help are some examples. So let's look at some examples.
Va bene. Okay, let's start from two separate independent sentences. So, for example, ho comprato questo libro.
Ho comprato, I have bought, questo libro. I have bought this book.
Molto bene. And then we can also say questo libro è molto interessante.
Okay, so this book is very interesting.
Perfetto.
Interessante. Così.
Interessante, molto bene, Mark.
Okay.
So we have two separate independent sentences, but if you think about it, it's a little bit boring, let's say, repeating the word questo libro twice.
Yeah.
So we can join the two sentences by using che, and che also allows us to avoid the repetition of questo libro.
Okay,
So the final result,
let's
Mark,
delete questo libro
sì,
and then instead put in the word that you suggested. I'll just delete that full stop as well. Che.
molto bene.
So
Ho comprato questo libro che è molto interessante.
I have bought this book, which is very interesting, or that is very interesting. There are differences in which and that, depending on which region of English speaker you are.
Sì, but the good thing about che is that it translates which, that, whom, so it's very handy to use.
Absolutely. Okay, let's take another example.
Ok, un altro esempio. Allora, Luisa è un'amica.
Luisa è un'amica. Okay, so Luisa is a friend.
And then we can also say Luisa viene sempre con me al cinema.
Okay, so Luisa always viene sempre con me. She always comes with me.
Sì,
Al
al cinema.
cinema, so to the cinema. So Louisa is a friend. Louisa always comes with me to the cinema. So as you say, that's a little boring. Let's make it a little more interesting.
Sì, let's join the two sentences together. Let's merge them. And to merge them, we need che again. And che allows us to avoid the repetition of Luisa.
Okay, so I've deleted Vieni as well, so we'll put Vieni back in. And we'll just delete Luisa. Okay, so now we can say Luisa è un'amica che viene sempre con me al cinema.
Bravissimo.
So in each case, the che is joining the two sentences and it's replacing the repetition of that same thing. So questo libro or Luisa in this case. So that's che. What about cui?
Sì, cui is very similar to che. It has exactly the same function. The only difference is that we need to use cui whenever we have a preposition. So when we're saying things like with whom, from which, and so on. So if there is a preposition included in the sentence, then che becomes automatically cui.
Okay, so again, let's look at an example to help us here.
Yes, let's take a similar examples to the ones we have just seen.
Okay.
So, ho comprato questo libro, again.
Ho comprato questo libro. I have bought this book, sorry.
Perfetto. E poi tutti parlano di questo libro.
Right, okay, so tutti, everyone, parlano
Sì,
di questo libro. So
molto bene.
everyone speaks about this book. Everyone's talking about
Sì.
this book. So what you want to say here is, I have bought this book about which everyone is talking.
Esatto, Mark. So we want to get rid of questo libro, but we have to save the preposition di, meaning about.
Okay. Could we just use che there?
Unfortunately not. We cannot say ho comprato questo libro di che tutti parlano. This is not good Italian. So whenever we have the preposition di, the relative pronoun che becomes cui.
Okay, and we need to add it in the middle of the sentence. So let's add it in here, and we'll say, ho comprato questo libro di cui tutti parlano. And
Esatto.
now we don't need all of this. We've still got the di in there, but we've replaced everything there with di cui.
Perfetto.
And obviously tutti would take a small t after that.
Ah sì, ovviamente.
Ho comprato questo
Molto
libro
preciso.
di cui tutti parlano. I have bought this book about which everyone is talking.
Esatto.
Let's take another example with Luisa.
Sì, a similar example. So again, Luisa è un'amica. We can use the same start.
Okay.
But then we can introduce a second sentence with a preposition. So vado sempre con Luisa al cinema.
Okay, so vado sempre con Luisa al cinema. So I always go with Luisa to the cinema. So if we wanted to join these two sentences, we would want to say something like, Luisa is a friend with whom I always go to the cinema. Something
Esattamente.
like that. So how would we do that, Francesca?
So we want to get rid of the word Luisa, but we want again to save the preposition con, meaning with, and we want to join the two sentences. So again, because of the presence of con, we cannot just say Luisa è un'amica con che vado sempre al cinema. That's not good Italian. We now know that the relative pronoun che has to be transformed into cui.
So let's add that in here, con cui, and we'll just do that.
Sì?
And now we can get rid of Luisa, and we can get rid of con, and let's just make that V a small letter. So
Esatto.
Luisa è un'amica con cui vado sempre al cinema. Luisa is a friend with whom I always go to the cinema.
Perfetto, Mark, molto bene.
Perfetto. Okay, well, we hope that this has answered Shibnam's question. And if you have a question like Shibnam, then make sure you get in touch. You can head over to coffeebreakquestions.com and leave your question there. And hopefully we'll be able to include that question in a future episode of the show. If you've liked this video, if it's helped you understand the difference between ke and kui, then give it a like. And of course, you can subscribe to our channel. Hit the little bell icon that appears to make sure you get notified whenever we post a new video.
And if you want to practice this grammar point further, you can write a sentence or two using che and cui and post your sentences in the comments here below. And I look forward to reading them, of course.
Anch'io. Okay.
E anche Marco, sì.
That's it for this episode. We hope that you've enjoyed it. And we'll be back soon. Allora, grazie mille e alla prossima.
Ciao, ciao.